Most people walked past him without a second glance. To them, he was just a janitor or someone with a mop, a quiet smile, and a pair of tired eyes that spoke of long nights and heavier responsibilities than most could imagine. But to 9-year-old Lily, he was dead. Her entire world. And one ordinary Tuesday morning, while polishing the glass doors of Stonewall Industries, Jack Mueller, a single father, veteran, and janitor, noticed something everyone else ignored, something so small it could have been brushed off, but that small detail would soon become the thread that unraveled a secret no one saw coming: a broken bar and end up saving the life of the CEO herself. A father first, janitor second. Jack never planned on being a janitor. Once upon a time, he wore a uniform of combat boots laced tight, serving in faraway places where every detail meant survival. But after his wife passed suddenly from an illness no doctor caught in time, Jack had one mission: raise Lily. The janitor job wasn't glamorous. It wasn't what he dreamed of, but it was steady. It paid the bills, and it let him be home by dinner to help Lily with math homework she always found boring, but better with Dad. To most people at the towering Stonewall Industries headquarters, Jack was invisible. Executives strode past in tailored suits, their words sharper than their cufflinks. Receptionists tapped keyboards without looking up. Only a few guards and secretaries greeted him by name. But Jack didn't mind. He wasn't there to be noticed. He was there to make a living, to keep things clean, to make sure Lily never felt she was missing out on love. The detail everyone missed. That Tuesday morning started like any other. Jack was buffing the marble floors near the executive elevators. The early crowd rushed, tea coffee in hand, phones buzzing, faces locked into the grind. Then she walked in, Evelyn Stonewall, the CEO, the kind of woman you read about in business magazines. Sharp, powerful, always a step ahead. To the world, she was unshakable. Jack usually only saw her from a distance, but today, something caught his eye. Her steps were slower, not the usual sharp, commanding strides. Her hand brushed the wall for balance for just a second, so brief most people wouldn't notice, but Jack did. Years of military training had rewired his brain to spot subtle changes: a soldier limping before collapsing, a comrade's uneven breath hinting at something worse. And now, those instincts kicked in. Evelyn's face had a faint flush, her eyes blinked a little slower, as if fighting dizziness. And when she reached for her coffee, her hand trembled, not enough to spill, but enough to signal something was off. Jack frowned. No one else noticed, or if they did, they brushed it off, because Evelyn Stonewall was untouchable, too important, too unstoppable. But Jack had learned the hard way: ignoring small signs can cost a life. Crossing the line, that afternoon, while taking out trash bags near the executive offices, Jack overheard Evelyn on the phone. Her voice, usually crisp, sounded faint, almost breathless. "Just a cold," she said to someone. "I'll power through. Big meeting next week." Jack hesitated. He had no business interfering in the life of the CEO. He was just the janitor. If he overstepped, he risked his job, and jobs weren't easy to come by. But then he thought of Lily, how he'd promised her he'd never stay silent if he saw something wrong. So when Evelyn stepped out of her office, Jack spoke up. "Mama, broken bar, forgive me for saying this, but are you feeling alright?" The hallway went silent. An assistant raised an eyebrow, half shocked that the janitor dared speak to the CEO so directly. Evelyn blinked. "I'm fine." "Why?" Jack rubbed the back of his neck, nervous. "Yoka, broken bar, a little unsteady, like maybe dizzy. I just thought a broken bar, you should get checked out. Sometimes it's nothing, sometimes it's not." Her expression hardened for a moment, the CEO mask sliding back on, but then something flickered in her eyes. "A broken bar, thank you," she said quietly, before walking past. The assistant snickered once she was gone. Imagining a janitor diagnosing the CEO, Jack said nothing. He'd done his part, or so he thought. The collapse. 2 days later, chaos erupted. Jack was mopping the lobby when he heard the commotion upstairs: shouts, rushing footsteps, someone screaming for help. He dropped the mop and ran. On the 15th floor, Evelyn Stonewall lay on the carpet, pale, clutching her chest. Executives stood frozen, fumbling with their phones, unsure what to do. Without hesitation, Jack pushed through. "Call 911, Now, he knelt beside her, checking her pulse, weak, her breathing shallow. He tilted her head, cleared her airway, began chest compressions. Years of combat medic drills rushed back like muscle memory. "Stay with me, ma'am," he muttered, counting steady beats. "Stay with me." Paramedics arrived minutes later, but by then Evelyn's pulse had steadied thanks to Jack's intervention. As they carried her out, her eyes fluttered open just long enough to meet his, and she whispered, "You a broken bar noticed." The twist. The diagnosis came back within hours, a rare heart condition. One that, untreated, could have been fatal within weeks. The kicker, the signs were there. Subtle dizziness, tremors, fatigue. But everyone around her was too busy, too intimidated, or too dismissive to say anything. Every a broken bar except the janitor. News spread fast. The staff whispered about the janitor who saved the CEO's life. Executives who once ignored him now stared with something close to respect or guilt. But Jack didn't care about gossip. He only cared that Evelyn was alive. An unexpected invitation. A week later, Evelyn returned, slower, careful, but alive. She asked to see Jack. He walked into her office nervously, still in his work uniform. "Mr. Miller," she began, her voice softer than he'd ever heard, "you saved my life. If you hadn't spoken up, if you hadn't acted that broken bar, I might not be here." Jack shrugged awkwardly. "Just did what anyone should have." "No," she said firmly. "Not anyone." Everyone else ignored it. "You didn't." "Why?" Jack hesitated, then spoke honestly. "My wife passed because nobody caught the signs in time. I promised myself a broken bar I'd never ignore them again. Not for anyone." Evelyn's eyes glistened. For a moment, the powerful CEO wasn't a figure on a magazine cover, as she was just a human being, shaken, grateful. Then came the surprise. "I want to offer you a new position here, something more fitting than mopping floors. Head of Safety and Wellness. Your instincts a broken bar, they saved me. They might save others too." Jack blinked. "Yeah, broken bar, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," she smiled. For Lily, the climax, the promotion changed everything. Jack now had an offer, small, but his paycheck doubled. For the first time in years, he felt like he wasn't just surviving, he was building a future. But the real impact wasn't financial. It was the message Evelyn later shared at a company-wide meeting. "Sometimes, the people we overlook are the ones holding the greatest wisdom. A janitor saved my life, not because it was his job, but because he cared." Let this company remember, kindness, vigilance, and humanity are not titles. They are choices. The room erupted in applause, and Jack, sitting quietly in the back with Lily by his side, felt something he hadn't in years: a pride not just in surviving, but in being seen. The ending. Months later, Evelyn and Lily became unlikely friends. Evelyn often invited her to her office, gifting her books and encouraging her dreams. And Jack, once invisible, became a respected figure in the company, not for what he had, but for who he was. But he never let it get to his head. Every evening, he still walked Lily home, still made her dinner, still told her bedtime stories. Because at the end of the day, he wasn't defined by titles or offices. He was a dad, a man who noticed what others ignored. And because of that, he'd saved a life and changed his own in the process. Final message. Sometimes, the smallest act of courage is speaking up, showing concern, daring to notice can ripple outward in ways we can't imagine. Jack Miller wasn't a doctor, a scientist, or a CEO. He was a single dad and a janitor. But in a moment of truth, his humanity was enough to save a life. And that's the kind of story the world should never overlook.